If Asim Munir wants, he can probably appoint himself captain of the Pakistan cricket team today. And honestly, after what Pakistan's parliament has just done, you can't completely rule it out either. Because Field Marshal Asim Munir is no longer just Pakistan's army chief, he's the chief of defense forces. Overnight. He sits above the army, navy, and air force. He has a say in who commands Pakistan's strategic forces, meaning its nuclear arsenal. He has sweeping powers over military personnel. And now, Parliament has passed laws formally putting this expanded military hierarchy into place. So here's the real question. Is Pakistan slowly slipping back into army rule? Not necessarily the old fashioned kind, no tanks on the street, no general announcing the dissolution of parliament, no suspension of the constitution, but something far more sophisticated. A system where civilian government continues to exist, but the military becomes the ultimate power center. So this is not a coup, at least not the kind that Pakistan is used to. But look at what just happened. On August 20th, Pakistan's parliament passed two major pieces of legislation dealing with the military and nuclear command structure: the Defence Forces Act 2026 and amendments to the National Command Authority Act. Now, these laws put Pakistan's Army, Navy, and Air Force under a unified command headed by the Chief of Defence Forces. And who is the Chief of Defence Forces? Well, Asim Munir. So the man who was already the most powerful general in Pakistan now sits above all three services. The Army Chief, the Air Force Chief, the Navy Chief, all ultimately report to him. And Munir gets extensive authority over military personnel, including the ability to retire someone, discharge someone, retain someone, and even alter prescribed retirement limits. In other words, he can hire, fire, retire at will. This is an extraordinary amount of power for one military office. It is important to remember that this is no longer just about political influence. This is being written into law. Now comes the really interesting part. Pakistan has also created the post of Commander of the National Strategic Command. This is the four-star officer overseeing the operational integration of Pakistan's strategic forces or nuclear weapons. And who recommends the person for that job? The Chief of Defence Forces, or Asim Munir. That means Munir has a central role in deciding who sits at the top of Pakistan's strategic military architecture. So where exactly does Pakistan's civilian government sit in this entire hierarchy? Technically, Pakistan still has a Prime Minister, Shehbaz Sharif. It still has a president, Asif Ali Zardari. It still has a parliament. It still has elections. So why call this military rule? Because there is a difference between running the government and controlling the system within which the government operates. And Munir has done exactly that. Pakistan has a very long history of military influence over civilian governments. There was Ayub Khan, Zia-ul Haq, Pervez Musharraf. The traditional model was simple. The military gets frustrated with civilian rule, the military takes over, a general becomes the ruler. But Munir's model seems to be different. Why stage a coup when you can redesign the system? Why suspend parliament when parliament itself can pass laws strengthening the military hierarchy? Think about the sequence. First, Munir becomes Field Marshal, then the Constitution creates a new office above the individual service chiefs. Then Munir gets that office. Then legislation defines and expands the powers of that office. And now Parliament has passed laws operationalizing a new command center for the strategic forces. Step by step, Asim Munir has ensured that the architecture is built. And the last several months, we've seen him on television. There is live testimony of Munir's increasing extended role and influence beyond conventional military affairs. He has been involved in Pakistan's foreign policy engagements, met foreign leaders, senior officials. He has emerged as an important interlocutor in Pakistan's dealings with Washington and the Gulf. He has also been involved in discussions surrounding regional diplomacy. And the military establishment remains deeply embedded in Pakistan's economic policy making through institutions such as the Special Investment Facilitation Council. Even disaster management has seen the army chief take a visible role. So you have a general whose responsibilities increasingly stretch across defense, foreign policy, national security, strategic affairs, and even areas of civil administration. So Pakistan may not be heading towards another 1999. Munir does not necessarily need to become Pervez Musharraf 2.0. He may not need to overthrow Shehbaz Sharif. He may not need to dissolve parliament because there is potentially a more powerful weapon. Keep the civilian government, keep the elections, keep the parliament, make sure the military establishment sits above the most consequential parts of the state. That is a very different kind of military rule. Not military rule by decree, but by design. Not a coup against the constitution, but a military hierarchy embedded inside the constitution. So Pakistan may be moving away from the old question, will the army take over? Because the army may no longer need to take over. The more important question now is, has Pakistan already redesigned its system so that its military never really has to give up power? And if Asim Munir really wants to, well, maybe Pakistan's cricket captaincy is next. You're watching Times Access. I'm Aditi Prasad. Click on the bell icon below to like and subscribe to the channel and never miss a Times Access update.
Nuclear weapon.
The old rules are breaking. Alliances are shifting.
Apologize again to the victims of the paedophile Jeffrey Epstein.
Wars are redrawing maps. Oil routes can shake economies overnight. One election in America can impact markets in Mumbai.
No tax on tips.
One move by China can alter the balance in Asia. One conflict in West Asia can hit every Indian household. This is no longer a distant story. This is our story. Your story. Because for the first time in decades, India is not watching from the sidelines. India is rising. India is negotiating. India is balancing rivals. India is building military strength. India is shaping trade routes. India is becoming central to the new global order. And yet, most global news is still told through someone else's lens. Washington's lens, Beijing's lens, London's lens. But where is India's lens? Where is the platform that explains the world from our perspective? Welcome to India's Axis, a new destination for geopolitics, strategy and power seen through India's eyes. From Neighborhood Watch to the biggest global stories that matter to you. Why tensions in the Taiwan Strait matter to India. How one move by China can affect India's security. What turmoil in Pakistan means for regional stability. How Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, and Bhutan shape India's neighborhood. Why oil choke points can hit your wallet. How wars abroad can reshape India's security. This is not noise. This is not shouting. This is not recycled headlines. This is sharp, intelligent storytelling. Daily explainers, war room analysis, strategic conversations. Because news is everywhere, but perspective is rare, and in the age of confusion, clarity is power. Axis is for the audience that wants more than headlines. The axis of global power is shifting. India is at the center of that shift. It's time the world was explained accordingly, to understand the world through India's strategic lens. Subscribe now.